Arthur Conan Doyle, The Study in Scarlet. Chapter 6. Tobias Gregson shows what he can do. The next day, the newspapers were full of what they called the Brixton Mystery. Every newspaper printed a long story about the case, and some also wrote opinion articles about it. I learned some new facts from these reports. I still keep many newspaper cuttings about the case in my scrapbook. Here is a shorter version of some of them. The Daily Telegraph wrote that very few crimes in history had shown such strange details. The German word on the wall, the absence of a clear reason, and the mysterious message all suggested that the murder had been done by political refugees or revolutionaries. The newspapers said that socialist groups were active in America, and that the victim had probably broken their secret rules and had been hunted. After speaking about many famous secret societies, poisons, ideas, and old murder cases, the article ended by warning the government and asking for stricter control of foreigners in England. The Standard said that violent crimes like this usually happened when a liberal government was in power. It said that public order had become weaker and authority had lost its strength. According to the newspaper, the dead man was an American who had lived in London for several weeks. He had stayed at a boarding house owned by Madame Charpentier in Camberwell. He was traveling with his private secretary, Mr. Joseph Stangerson. They left the boarding house together on Tuesday the 4th, saying they were going to catch the Liverpool Express train at Euston Station. They were last seen together on the platform there. After that, nothing was known until Mr. Drebber's body was found in an empty house on Brixton Road, far from the station. No one knew how he had gone there, or how he had died. Stangerson had disappeared. The newspaper said it was sure the case would soon be solved, because both Mr. Lestrade and Mr. Gregson of Scotland Yard were working on it. The Daily News also believed that the crime was political. It said that strict governments in Europe had forced many unhappy men to escape to England. These men followed strict rules of honor, and if someone broke those rules, it could lead to death. The newspaper asked the police to find Stangerson as soon as possible and to examine the victim's habits and his past life. It praised the discovery of the boarding house address and said that this important step was completely the result of the intelligence and hard work of Mr. Gregson of Scotland Yard. Sherlock Holmes and I read these newspaper reports together during breakfast, and they clearly entertained him very much. "I told you that, whatever happened, Lestrade and Gregson would certainly take the credit," he said. "That depends on how the case ends," I replied. "Oh, my dear friend, that makes no difference at all. If the man is caught, it will be because of their work. If he escapes, it will be in spite of their work. In both cases, they win. Whatever they do, people will praise them. As the French say, a fool always finds someone even more foolish to admire him." "What is this?" I cried suddenly, as we heard many feet running in the hall and on the stairs, together with the angry voice of our landlady. "It is the Baker Street group of the detective police," Holmes said seriously. As he spoke, half a dozen of the dirtiest and worst-dressed street boys rushed into the room, small, ragged figures such as I had never seen before. "Attention!" cried Holmes sharply, and the 6 boys immediately stood in a line, like badly dressed soldiers. "In the future, send only Wiggins to report. The rest of you must wait outside. Have you found it, Wiggins?" "No, sir, we haven't," said one of the boys. "I did not really expect you would," Holmes answered calmly. "You must continue trying until you do. Here is your payment." He gave each of them a shilling. "Now go, and bring me better news next time." He waved his hand, and they ran down the stairs like rats. A moment later, we could hear their sharp voices in the street below. "There is more useful work to get from one of those boys than from 12 policemen," Holmes said. When people see an official, they become careful and silent. But these boys go everywhere and hear everything. They are clever, too. What they need is organization. "Are you using them for the Brixton case?" I asked. "Yes. There is one small detail I want to make clear. It is only a question of time. Ah, we are going to hear some news, very important news." Here comes Gregson along the street, with happiness written all over his face. He is coming straight here. Yes, he is stopping. There he is. There was a loud ring at the bell, and a few seconds later, the fair-haired detective came quickly up the stairs, 3 steps at a time, and rushed into our sitting room. "My dear friend," he cried, shaking Holmes's hand warmly, although Holmes did not answer the greeting. "Congratulate me. I have made the whole matter completely clear." For a moment, I thought I saw a look of worry pass over Holmes's face. "Do you mean that you are following the correct path?" he asked. "The correct path?" Gregson cried. "Why, sir, we have the man safely in prison." "And what is his name?" Holmes asked. "Arthur Charpentier, sub-lieutenant in Her Majesty's Navy," Gregson replied proudly, rubbing his hands and standing very straight. Sherlock Holmes gave a soft sigh of relief and smiled. "Please sit down and try one of these cigars," he said. "We are very eager to hear how you did it. Would you like some whiskey and water?" "I don't mind if I do," said the detective. "The great effort of the last day or two has completely tired me. Not so much physical effort, you understand, but mental strain. You will understand that, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. We are both men who use our brains." "You flatter me," said Holmes seriously. "Please tell us how you reached this very satisfying result." Gregson leaned back in the armchair and smoked his cigar happily. Suddenly he laughed and hit his leg with his hand. "The funniest part of it," he cried, "is that fool Lestrade, who thinks he is so clever, has gone completely in the wrong direction. He is chasing the secretary, Stangerson, who had nothing to do with the crime at all. I would not be surprised if he has already arrested him." The idea pleased Gregson so much that he laughed until he almost choked. "And how did you find your clue?" Holmes asked. "Ah, I will tell you everything. Of course, Dr. Watson, this remains between us. The first problem was to learn something about this American gentleman's past. Some people would have waited for answers to newspaper advertisements or for witnesses to come forward. That is not Tobias Gregson's method. You remember the hat lying next to the dead man?" "Yes," said Holmes. "Made by John Underwood and Sons, 129 Camberwell Road." Gregson looked very surprised. "I had no idea you noticed that," he said. "Have you been there?" "No." "Ah," cried Gregson, feeling relieved. "You should never miss even the smallest chance." "To a great mind, nothing is small," Holmes said calmly. "Well," Gregson went on, "I went to Underwood and asked if he had sold a hat of that size and kind. He looked in his records and found it at once. He had sold the hat to a Mr. Drebber, who was staying at Charpentier's boarding house in Torquay Terrace. That is how I found the address." "Very clever," said Sherlock Holmes quietly. "Very clever indeed." "I then went to see Madame Charpentier," the detective continued. "I found her looking very pale and troubled. Her daughter was with her. She is a very beautiful young woman. Her eyes were red from crying, and her lips trembled as I spoke to her. I did not fail to notice that. I began to think that something was wrong. You know the feeling, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, when you find the right path, a kind of excitement in your nerves. Have you heard about the mysterious death of your former lodger, Mr. Enoch J. Drebber of Cleveland?" I asked. The mother nodded but could not speak. The daughter began to cry. That made me even more certain that they knew something. "At what time did Mr. Drebber leave your house for the train?" I asked. "At 8 o'clock," she answered, trying to control herself. His secretary, Mr. Stangerson, said there were 2 trains, one at 9:15 and another at 11. He was going to take the first. And was that the last time you saw him? I asked. When I asked this, the woman's face changed completely. It became white, and she needed several seconds before she answered. At last she whispered, "Yes," in a tight, unnatural voice. There was a short silence. Then the daughter spoke in a calm and clear voice. "No good ever comes from lying, Mother," she said. "We should tell this gentleman the truth. We did see Mr. Drebber again." "God forgive you!" cried Madame Charpentier, raising her hands and falling back into her chair. "You have killed your brother." "Arthur would want us to tell the truth," the girl answered firmly. "You had better tell me everything now," I said. "Half-truths are worse than none, and you do not know how much we already know." "If anything happens, it will be your fault, Alice," cried her mother. Then she turned to me. "I will tell you everything, sir. Do not think that I am afraid because my son had anything to do with this terrible crime. He is completely innocent. I am only afraid that other people may suspect him. But that cannot be. His character, his profession, and his past all show that he is innocent." "The best thing you can do is to tell the whole truth," I answered. "If your son is innocent, he has nothing to fear." "Perhaps, Alice, you should leave us alone," she said, and her daughter left the room. "Now, sir," she continued, "I did not plan to tell you all this, but since my poor daughter has started, I have no choice. I will tell you everything and hide nothing." "That is the wisest choice," I said. Mr. Drebber stayed with us for almost 3 weeks. He and his secretary, Mr. Stangerson, had been traveling around Europe. I saw labels on their luggage marked Copenhagen, which showed that this was their last stop. Stangerson was a quiet and reserved man, but his employer, I am sorry to say, was very different. He drank a lot and behaved badly. In fact, after midday, he was almost never sober. His behavior toward the servants was rude and unpleasant. Worst of all, he soon began to behave in the same way toward my daughter, Alice. More than once he spoke to her in a way that, fortunately, she was too innocent to understand. On one occasion, he even took her in his arms and kissed her. This shameful act made his own secretary speak angrily to him about his bad behavior. "Why did you let this continue?" I asked. "Surely you could ask your lodgers to leave." Mrs. Charpentier blushed at this question. "I wish to God that I had sent him away on the very first day," she said. "But it was a strong temptation. They paid £1 a day each, £14 a week, and this is a quiet season. I am a widow, and my son in the Navy has cost me a lot of money. I did not want to lose the income. I thought I was doing the right thing. But this last insult was too much, and I told him to leave immediately. That is why he was going. And then? I felt relieved when I saw him drive away. My son Arthur was at home on leave, but I had told him nothing about these events. His temper is strong, and he cares deeply for his sister. When I closed the door behind the 2 men, I felt as if a heavy weight had been lifted from my heart. Sadly, less than an hour later the bell rang, and I found out that Mr. Drebber had come back. He was very excited and clearly drunk. He pushed his way into the room where Alice and I were sitting and spoke in a wild way about missing his train. Then he turned to Alice and right in front of me asked her to run away with him. "You are old enough," he said. "No law can stop you. I have plenty of money. Do not worry about the old woman. Come with me now. You will live like a princess." Poor Alice was very frightened and tried to pull her hand away, but he caught her wrist and tried to pull her toward the door. I screamed, and at that moment my son Arthur came into the room. What happened after that I cannot clearly describe. I heard angry voices and the sounds of a fight. I was too afraid to raise my eyes. When I finally looked up, Arthur was standing in the doorway, laughing, with a stick in his hand. "I do not think that fine gentleman will trouble us again," he said. "I will follow him and see what he does." Then he put on his hat and went out into the street. The next morning, we heard about Mr. Drebber's mysterious death. Mrs. Charpentier told her story with many pauses and deep breaths. Sometimes she spoke so quietly that I could hardly hear her. Still, I wrote everything down in shorthand so there would be no mistake. "This is quite interesting," said Sherlock Holmes, yawning a little. "What happened next?" When Mrs. Charpentier finished speaking, the detective continued, "I saw that the whole case depended on one detail. I looked directly at her in a way that I have always found useful with women, and asked her what time her son returned home. 'I do not know,' she answered. 'You do not know?' 'No. He has a key and came in by himself.' 'After you went to bed?' 'Yes.' 'What time did you go to bed?' 'About 11. So your son was away for at least 2 hours? 'Yes.' 'Possibly 4 or 5 hours? 'Yes.' 'And what was he doing during that time?' 'I do not know,' she answered, turning pale. After that there was nothing more to do. I discovered where Lieutenant Charpentier was, took 2 officers with me, and arrested him. When I touched his shoulder and told him to come quietly, he answered bravely, 'I suppose you are arresting me for being connected with the death of that villain Drebber.' We had not mentioned Drebber at all, so this sounded very suspicious. 'Very suspicious,' said Holmes. He still had the heavy stick his mother had described. It was a solid oak club. 'And what is your theory?' Holmes asked. 'My theory is that he followed Drebber to Brixton Road. There they had another argument, and Drebber was hit with the stick, perhaps in the stomach, which killed him without leaving any clear mark. The night was wet and the street was empty, so Charpentier dragged the body into the empty house. As for the candle, the blood, the writing on the wall, and the ring, they were probably tricks to confuse the police.' 'Well done,' Holmes said kindly. 'You are making real progress, Gregson. We may yet turn you into a detective.' 'I think I managed it very well,' Gregson answered proudly. The young man gave a statement. He said that after following Drebber for some time, Drebber saw him and took a cab to get away. On his way home, Charpentier said he met an old friend from the Navy and walked with him for a long time. But when he was asked where this man lived, he could not give a clear answer. I believe the whole case fits together perfectly. What really makes me laugh is thinking about Lestrade, who went completely in the wrong direction. I am afraid he will not get very far. Why, good heavens, here he is now. It was indeed Lestrade. He had come up the stairs while we were talking and now walked into the room. His usual confidence was gone. His face looked anxious, and his clothes were not neat. He had clearly come to ask Sherlock Holmes for advice, but when he saw Gregson, he seemed uncomfortable and unsure what to do. He stood in the middle of the room, nervously turning his hat in his hands. "This is a very extraordinary case," he said at last. "A completely confusing matter." "So you think that now, Mr. Lestrade," Gregson said proudly. "I expected you would. Have you managed to find the secretary, Mr. Joseph Stangerson?" "The secretary, Mr. Joseph Stangerson," Lestrade said seriously, "was murdered at Halliday's private hotel at about 6 o'clock this morning."